In this lab I want to build the support structure, the frame, using the frame generator in Inventor to support this pyramid, the lower portion of this pyramid. We'll make a couple changes from the design that's shown in the image. We'll come all the way down to these pads, and then I'm going to orient these angle iron, the L channels, so that they don't collect rainwater in this valley. So I have those pointing down on both of these, and then back to back, where they can be either bolted or welded together. And so let's look at how to set this up and then create our frame. First thing to do when creating your project is to, if you're using desktop content or you are using the Vault, make sure that you have the custom content check mark here, and then I've got most everything else check marked, but make sure that this isn't red, and one of these will be also for the frame generator. Alright, so set up my project, and then I'm going to open up the master file, and I'm going to create a panel to close off the bottom of this. And we could either do that as a sheet metal face, but this one's going to be a different thickness than these other faces. I'm going to do extrude for this one, so I'll go to the 3D model tab and I'll do extrude, and I'm going to go up a distance of 0.5 and make sure to set this to be a new solid body. Now the actual hopper has a hole in the bottom. I'm not sure what size the hole would be. Of course we could add that hole at any time. I'll turn off the visibility of sketch number 1, and I'm going to drag the end of folded marker all the way up to the top underneath sketch number 1, and I might bring that down here underneath this lofted surface that we created earlier. And I'm going to turn on the visibility then of sketch number 2, and then I'm going to turn on the visibility of this work plane in which we created that sketch, and then I'll do a new plane and click and drag, and I'm going to do that down a -6 inches. Now I've already done that, so if I turn on my offset work plane, so I've offset that work plane down a distance of 6 inches. I'm then going to do an extrude, and I want to extrude this as a surface body, so I will select here, instead of solid I'll toggle that to a surface body, and then I'm going to do it from this offset plane that we just created. If I drag this down right now, so it's coming from this plane up here, I want it to start at this plane, and so I'll tell it start from this sketch plane. So I clicked it from, and I'll select from that plane, and I'm going to go down a distance of 12 feet. So I'll put the foot symbol in, and we'll say OK to that. Alright, now we can hide sketch number 2, and I'm going to start a new sketch on this face, and I'll also hide these work planes. I don't need to see these anymore. And so I'll do a new sketch. I'll select this face, and I want to project the boundary edges of this face, and so I'll do project geometry, and I'm going to select the boundary edges of the face, and I really only need this corner right here, and this corner, and this corner, and this corner. And then I'm going to draw a line from this corner down to this corner. Make sure you snap green to the corners, and I'll draw a line from this corner down to this corner. Alright, I'll finish that sketch, and then I'm going to start a sketch on this face, and I'm going to project geometry these two lines that we created on this sketch. That sketch is done. I'll finish it. Then I'll create a sketch on this face, and again I'll project geometry this point and this point, this one and this one. I'll then draw a line from this corner to this corner, and I'll draw a line from this corner to this corner. Make sure it snaps green. I'll finish that sketch, and then I'll do a sketch back here on this face, and I'll project geometry this X and this line back onto that face. I'll finish sketch on that, and then I'll drag my end of folded back down to the bottom. Alright, so these lines represent the area where I am going to, or the edges where I'm going to build my supporting frame to hold up this hopper. I'll then start a new weldment assembly, and I'll save that, and I'm going to call this hopper support structure. I'll right click and I'll do place component, and I'll select the hopper, and I want to place this grounded at the origin. So I'll right click, place that hopper grounded at the origin. I'll save it, and then I will go to insert frame member, and for my frame member size I want to do a square. So I'll find a square tube, and for the size I want to use a 6 by 6 by 5/16 wall thickness. My material will be mild steel. I'm going to select this edge up here, and it puts that right down the center of that edge, but really what I want is I want this corner up here at that point. So I'll click on this corner, that moves it up to that point, and then I'll select the next edge, and then I'll select the next edge, and I'll select the fourth edge. I'll say OK to these, and we'll say OK again. Now there's a chance it may put one of these in the wrong location, and so we have to inspect those and make sure that they are in the correct location. And if we needed to edit one of them, the easiest way to edit is shift right click, set your selection filter on part priority, and then you could select the part you need to edit and tell it to edit with the frame generator, and if needed you may need to change to a different corner. In this case mine came out okay. Next I want to miter these four corners, so I'll do miter, and I'm going to put in an offset distance between the two parts of 0.25, and I'm going to set it to do a symmetric miter, and I'll select this part and this part. We see that it miters those two together, and it's going to put in an offset distance in there of whatever we tell it to do, whether we want a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 inch or whatever we want. I'll click on the plus symbol to apply that one, and then I'll go to the next corner and I'll select here and I'll select here. I'll do apply, and I'll go to the next corner. I'll do here and here. I'll do apply, and then I'll do this corner here and here, and I'll say OK to that. So now I have my four top members placed and mitered. Then I'm going to do the four vertical legs. So again, I'll do insert frame, and I will select this edge, and I want to check the location of that, so I'll go to the top view, and I really want this corner to be down here, so I'll select that corner, and so that moves that corner out, and then I'll go to the next edge. I'll select it, and on this one I need to make sure that the correct corner is in that location, so I'll click on that corner, that moves it out, and I'll select the next corner, and we'll check that corner, so it should be this one, and we'll do one more, and if I think I'll make a mistake on this one to show how to correct it, so I'll go ahead and say OK. We'll say OK. So it put those four members in, and actually I thought I had this one in the right location, and I didn't. I can see that I don't have, and actually I don't have several of them in the right location, so it looks like we might need to edit these. I'll do edit with frame generator, and so when I'm getting this point that I want to move out there, I have to be careful that I don't select something that I didn't intend to select. So right now it's actually selecting this component, and I might need to change this to a different orientation to make it easier to get this point. Okay, so now I'll move that point out there. I'll say okay to that, and then I'll go to the next one. Okay, so that one's okay. This one I need to move, so I'll edit that one. I select edit with frame generator, and it seems like it's best to get this from the underside so that we get the correct location when we select that point. And I'll say okay to that one, and then we've got one more to do, so I'll right click on this one and I'll say edit with frame generator, and I'll select this point. That moves that out to that location. Alright, so we inspect it again, make sure that these all meet at that outer corner, and I'll save this. And then I want to put in my cross beams. I think I'll go ahead and put the feet on here first, and then I'll put those cross beams on. I'm trying to decide which order I want to do these in. Let's go ahead and do insert cap, and I'm going to select this end face, and I want to make sure that the direction is going down, so you may need to flip the direction. I'm going to put a fillet of 1/2 inch radius on these 4 corners. I'll make the cap 1/2 inch thick, and I'm going to offset it from here out to here -3 inches so that it gets bigger rather than going in, which would be smaller. And I'll go ahead and click the plus symbol to apply that one, and then we'll go to the next leg, and I'll hit the plus symbol to apply that one, and we'll go to the next leg, and I'll click the plus symbol to apply that one, and we've got one more to do. We'll say okay to that. Now, of course, these would have holes in them to bolt to the foundation. We could edit those parts and add the holes, but I'm going to skip over that step. I want to add my channel iron in here next, and I'm going to do that 3 by 3 by 5/16. So I'll do insert frame. I will find my L beam. So I find equal angle steel, and then I'm going to select an L 3 by 3 by 5/16. And then I'm going to select this edge, and I will select this edge. Now I can try to line this up right now, or I could just go ahead and accept it and then try to line it up. Let's see if we can line this up right now. So I'm going to actually, it may be easy on this one if we send it right down the center and then put an offset distance. And so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put this right down the center on each of these, and we'll see where it puts it, and then we'll adjust it as needed. So I'll go ahead and say okay to that. So I have these two cross members placed into my assembly. It might be easiest if we go back to the master and turn off the visibility of the surface. So I'll go up to the surface bodies, and I'll turn off the visibility of that surface, and we'll save this and then go back to the assembly. And so I have this channel is with the angle on the bottom side so that water doesn't collect in there, and then the other one though is pointed up, so I'm going to have to rotate this one, and then I want to move these channels so I have both of them are beyond the edge here the way we created that surface body. So I need to move one of them over 1.5 inches, and the other one I need to move 4.5 inches. So let's edit this one first. And so again, I have shift right mouse button, I have my selection priority on part priority. I will edit using the frame generator, and I think I got the wrong one. Let's cancel out of that. So I want to get the one that doesn't need to be rotated first. So this one doesn't need to be rotated, so I'll edit that, and then I'm going to offset that, and I will just drag this arrow, if I can get this, and I'm afraid I got the wrong thing, so I'm going to cancel and do that again. So let me make sure I do that right. So I'll edit with frame generator, so I was trying to get this arrow. I don't want to get this arrow and rotate it, and then I'm going to drag this arrow this way, and I'm having trouble getting it, so I'm just going to put in some numbers and observe which way it goes. So I'm going to do 3.5 on this one, and I see that that's the wrong way, so I'll put that back on 0, and I'll do 3.5 on this one, and I see that it's moving to the side like I want it to, but I want to go the other direction, so I'll do minus. And actually on this one I think I only want to go 1.5, so let's change this to 1.5. So what I'm trying to do is get this edge right here lined up with this edge, and then this is right in the middle here. Let's say OK to that, and you'll be able to see it better. Okay, so I have this face in the middle between these two beams, and then this edge is flush with that edge over there. I now want to move this one over, and I also need to rotate this one. So I'll right click, I'm going to say edit with frame generator, and I'm going to rotate that. And sometimes it's easiest to drag the arrows to see how it needs to be rotated. Sometimes it's easier just to type it in and observe what's happening. So I'm going to try to drag this, and so I've dragged it around 90 degrees, so the L shape is like that. And then I'm going to move this over, and I might be able to drag this arrow this time. I had trouble in the previous one. It might have been best to leave off these components, and I think I'll just hide those. So let's just put in a distance though. I'll say minus 3.5. Okay, so that moved it over. I'll say OK to that, and I'll zoom in here, and as I see that I need to go over a little bit more here, and I said I would turn off these 4 components, and so I'm going to select the first footer, and I'll select the last one, and I'll turn off the visibility of those. I might have to do those one at a time. There we go. And that might be easier to see, so we can turn those back on later. Now it's going to extend through this. We'll trim these up in a minute, but I need to move this over a little bit more, so let me see how far I need to move it. So I need to move it this distance from here over to here. Once I know those distances, it'll be the same for all of them. And so I'll do measure. I'll measure that distance from here to here, and I see that I need to move it 1 more inch, and I also see that I don't have it the right angle, so I still need to edit that angle. So it's hard to see it when it's in the transparent mode, but I'll go ahead and edit with frame generator, and instead of 90 degrees, let's do 180, and then I'll go 4.5, negative 4.5, so it'll either be -1 or +1, or negative 4.5 or positive 4.5. I'll say OK to that, and so I see now that this face is flush to this face, and this is kind of hard to see on my screen. You'll be able to see it better when you do yours. And then we'll trim up the ends. Now I'm going to cut off the ends on the bottom after I get all of these frame members in here, but I'll go ahead and do trim extend, and I'm going to select this as my trimming face, and I want to trim off this piece, and I also want to trim off this piece. Now it looks like I have to do these one at a time, so I'll click the apply, and then I'll select this planar face again, and then I'll select this one. I want to trim this one off, and I'll click apply, and now it's also going up into this face, so I'll select that face and then click here and apply that, and we'll go to the other side, and I'll select this as my trimming face. I want to trim this piece. I'll apply that, and then I want to select this face, and I'll select this face, and I'll say OK to that. Okay, so I have those parts trimmed off. Now we're going to do the same thing 3 more times. So I'll do one more, and then I will leave the rest for you to do. So I'll do insert frame. I'm going to select this one, and I'll select this one. I'll go ahead and say OK, and then I will observe the results. So I want to move this one over 1 inch. So I'll right click, I'll say edit with frame generator, and I'm going to go -1, and that was actually it went the wrong direction, so I'll go 1. I'll go 1 on this one. So it's always going to be either 1 or -1 or 4.5 or -4.5. So then I'll edit this one. So I need to rotate that one 180 degrees, and I'll go -4.5, and we'll say OK and observe it. And I see that the angle is wrong on this one, so let me go back and edit that, and let's put that back on 0. So I still need to have it rotated, but let's do 90 degrees instead of 180. So I'll edit with frame generator, and I'll rotate that 90 degrees. And I still don't have it set right on that one. Let's try it again. I tried 180 before, I thought. Okay, so I need to go another 90 degrees. So let's do 270. Or I could do -90. Alright, so I've got the angle right. Now I need to get the offset right. So I'll edit with frame generator. Instead of -4.5, I'll go 4.5. And I put in the, I see that it offset this way, which is the wrong one, so I need to edit that. So this one should be 0. This one should be 4. It'll either be 4.5 or -4.5. Okay, so I see that it's going the wrong way, so I'll edit that, and I'll do the -4.5. Okay, so once I do that, I see that it comes over where this edge right here is flush with the outside, and these two components are back to back. And actually I thought they were back to back. I'm not sure that they are. There's a gap in between there, and so I need to edit this one, and I'll put in the -1 inch on that one. And that just sent it the wrong way. Let's do 1.5. I forget what we did on the first one. And I still see a gap in there, and I'm trying to determine which one I need to go in which direction. So I'm going to measure that distance. So I'll do measure the distance from here, from this face to this face, and it says I need to go 1.5 inches. So let me close this, and we'll edit this component, edit with frame generator, and I'll do 3.5. Right, then I'll check this, and it's still in the wrong orientation. I think we're putting the distance on the wrong. Let's edit this. Let's do the 3.5 up here. I'll put that one back on 0. Okay, so I can see that it moved it out that way, so I'll do the negative. Now this is a little bit hard to see on my screen. It'll be easier, we hope, when it's on your screen. Alright, I'll say OK to that. And so that time, so I was using the wrong offset, and I see that I've gone too far now. And so if I measure this from here to here, 2 inches, so I need to go 2 inches less, and I thought that's what it should be, 1.5 inches. So I'll edit that, and I'll go 1.5 minus 1.5. Alright, so now I see that those two are back to back, and then I would go around and do the rest of them, and after I have them all done, I will then so we also need to trim those up, so let's trim these up as well. So I'll do trim. I'll trim this with this face, and I'll say OK to that, and I'll trim this one up here with this face. I'll trim this one, and I'll also trim the end of it. See, the end of it's going up into this face, so I'll trim that. Then I'll trim the other side. And where it intersects this face, we can see that. And this one down here where it's intersecting into here. Okay, once I have those, then I'll cut off the bottom. So I'd go ahead and do the other two sides. I'm going to leave that for you to do. But then I would cut off, and actually I see that I don't have that one trimmed, so I need to make sure I get that one trimmed. So do trim extend. I want to trim this with that face. Okay, so I have that one trimmed, have that one. And it may be a good idea to turn off or alter the visibility of various components, so we can look all the way through this tube to make sure that you have everything trimmed properly. And then at the bottom, I need to cut off all of this. So I'll do trim extend, and I'll select this face, and I want to trim this part off. So it trims that off. And I'll go to the next one. I'll select the bottom, and I'll select this part to trim it. I'll say OK to that, and I'll turn on the caps. And of course you need to finish the all of the rest of your cross members to finish the frame. And we turn off the visibility of the sketches, and we can either do that here, and let's just do that here. So I'll go to the View tab, Object Visibility. I'll turn off 2D sketches, and so after you create the other two cross members, you have completed the assembly.